disrespect the room and scream through someone else talking. We're not children.
Let me give an Can I give an
That's
example?
all you do,
something?
Witsit. You're always disrespecting other people, and that's what you do. Stop attacking
Yo, real
people and
quick.
just go into the info shared.
Hey, yo, real quick. I didn't hear anyone bring up anyone except I didn't hear anyone dropping other people's names. Just let's just chill for a second. We were talking about what Witsit was going to produce. That's all. Or for his, we were talking about his convention coming up. We were talking about interesting ideas to talk to the people over there. That's all that was happening.
I think it's far too common of a theme to like coming to these Discord spaces around this topic and have so many people being so negative with their whole mood and the way they talk. And
oh my God! I was actually trying to say something, man. Now we're getting lost in meta again, dude.
Whoa, no, hold up. What, bro? Why are you trying to cut me off, dude?
Because we're getting into meta, and I had something to say pertaining to the topic.
I'm not trying to get into meta. I'm making like a point. Like it's not meta. I'm not attacking people. Like in general, what I'm trying to say, bro, is that like there must be like a reason. There must be a real reason that we see that as such a common thing. I'm not talking about calling people names and psychopaths. I'm talking about that. I'm just talking like the general, like not even the people who are like crazy, psycho, aggressive, mean. Just most people, like the majority of people. There's just like an overall negative vibe that comes into these places, or into these spaces and these servers when we talk. And I don't know what it is. What is the common thing that's making everyone so negative? Why can't we all just be nice?
The name of the app is Discord, and people are going to disagree. So the funny thing,
but you can do that in a positive way, bro. Everyone just needs to like lighten up. That's my message.
Yeah, Discord doesn't have to have negative connotations attached.
Yeah, you're giving grounds for Krissle to respond, and I'm not going to be able to say what I want to say before you interrupted me. So this is what I'm trying to say. Like I was prompting ChatGPT a lot. I was prompting ChatGPT a lot about collimation because I hear Lion making claims about theodolites causing that drop over distance. And at first, ChatGPT was like telling me, yeah, collimation will cause drop over distance. I kept prompting it, kept getting different answers. Like I ended up taking all the pictures. ChatGPT just straight up scrambles science sometimes. So I'm just saying that, like, yeah, even when it comes to the science, you got to keep prompting it. Don't just settle when you think you got what you want. Because I won't argue about collimation anymore. I think that it's ChatGPT was getting hella stuff incorrect, referring articles from like 1950 and stuff.
Yeah, like I have hilarious screenshots of ChatGPT with me debating the Earth with it, and it's just so dead set on like the globe Earth model's a fact, and so it'll just start making stuff up and contradicting itself to say that. But eventually, you like beat it down into submission. I don't know. But like, Piezo, what I'm gonna say, what it really is, man, is like what we all know that it is. Okay, and there's specific things that pull out other specific things, and it's not avoidable. So, and I'll just say that. That's all I'm gonna say. It's just unavoidable.
I like to live my life as a happy person, bro. Like I'm a very happy-go-lucky in person in real life, like around all the people I interact with in person. Like I carry positive energy just in general, right? Like that's like how I try to exude. Not try, like it's just like a natural thing, right? I don't try. It's just on. That's how it works. And like you come in here and it's such like it's like there's a cloud of negativity, like it's just in the air that's being breathed in these rooms.
Yeah.
As virtue signaling and gaslighting, in case you didn't know, dude.
What? Do you think I'm talking to you? Like I'm speaking in general, bro. Like don't apply it to yourself if it doesn't apply to you. I'm pretty sure anyone honest would acknowledge that there's like very negative, like, moods all the time in here. It's not really like a thing worth arguing over. Right, that was a question.
Every time we come in here, people get attacked, and it annoys the shit out of me.
Oh man, you're like one of the main ones.
See, it's like this dude. Jesus, his name is Jesus Christ, and he's trying to talk past the person he's addressing. It's like subliminal. That's gaslighting, and your virtue signaling, dude.
Who do you think I'm addressing, bro? I just said I'm not addressing you.
You need to have a back
Exactly.
Dude, I wasn't even in here for y'all's conversation.
Bad intro for any conversation.
I literally joined like 2 minutes ago, bro. I wasn't even in here for the conversation prior. I just heard all this, like, people are arguing, and then I'm like, you know what? Like, this just makes me realize, like, it's always like this. That was my whole point. I didn't even know what happened up until this, so how could I be addressing you? Stop projecting that onto me, dude.
Anyway, this happened yesterday. This happened yesterday. I was trying to talk. So what happened earlier, right, is like they pulled me in. When they pulled me in, because it's like a bait I can't resist, which is to pretend to come into the conversation super good faith, and they're like, "Well, what is your alternative ideas, about the universe?" And it's like a topic that obviously, like I'd love to discuss in reality. And so I'm like, uh, I don't know, man. Like I usually don't do that, whatever. So then as soon as I did it, and I even explained the whole like, I normally don't do this with someone that's like not truly interested or open minded and they're just looking for a gotcha or something like that because it just requires way too much like explaining and just whatever good faith. And then there's like this huge double standard where it's like when it comes to someone else's position, if you pull out something speculative, you're like, no, can you prove that? Can you prove that? Where's your proof? And it's like, with their beliefs, there's no standard at all. It's like whatever says goes, and that's just how science works. But then as soon as I did start to answer it, boom, bro, 4 of them nonstop, screaming, cussing, interrupting, pestering, avoiding what's actually being said, and it's like I realized, like, bro, that's just why some people come in here, bro. Some people just like that. They just want to argue. Some people come in here specifically to get that out. So anyway.
Thing is with this, when PhD Tony comes in there and he starts talking about that background medium of Hawking, and when you should have looked at field propulsion research, the research of liquids and in the vapor form, you would have noticed that it has some resemblance with that same system that Hawking was talking about. So that the science is changing, and you should adapt as well, because Tony is trying to have a conversation, and basically you're both talking about the same thing.
We're literally not talking about the same thing at all. He claims that time is to explain how the universe doesn't have to have a beginning. He said that time could be like a circle that's finite but has no end. No, time can't be a shape. That's stupid. Like how am I saying the same thing as that?
It's about the hexagonal structure in everything.
No, that's not what Hawking's paper is about at all. It's about trying to explain how time is finite but has no beginning and end. And
he was
Hawking
talking about
specifically,
that last theory he made about the universe in space, how everything is connected. That was what he was talking about. That was what he
I
was
just
trying to
said what
talk
he
to you
was.
about.
No, he was trying to talk about Hawking's paper about the beginning of time and how if you assume that time using imaginary units is a shape like a circle, you can escape the inevitability of a beginning if you claim that time, though finite, has no beginning and end like a circle. And that's stupid. And Hawking is very open and upfront about why he was trying to come up with that. It's to avoid a creator. Hawking literally says that. He says, this is the only thing I can come up with to avoid the inevitability of a creator in the scenario that there's a beginning. What a weirdo. Right? That's not science. That's not.
I don't want to
Trying to
believe in
figure out
God, so I'm going to
truth.
say time is a circle, even though that doesn't make any sense.
And then Hawking says in his paper it doesn't make sense, and like he doesn't actually believe it to be true. And then we have people come in here like Tony claiming that Hawking proposed it as if it were true.
One of the oldest symbols for God is called the circumpunct. It's a circle with a dot in the middle of it. So, I mean, that doesn't prove anything, but
Is time God though?
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah, and the snake that is eating his tail.
Also, another thing, I just listening, it reminded me of like higher dimensional like structures. Say like a hypertorus, but we wouldn't observe a hypertorus. We would just observe it from our dimension. So that's just stuff that's going in my head.
When have we ever measured other dimensions other than the ones we live in, though?
Yeah, but
every
we have
time you do
cycles in our
DMT
world.
or psychedelics,
that is circular.
It's not a measurement, bro.
Every time back in time. It is circular motion in cycles we have in our world. So why shouldn't time be circular?
Nothing goes back in time.
We don't have that. We have the like
What are you
thermodynamics,
talking about?
we have entropy and stuff. So it's not.
What
like
goes
that.
back in time?
Yeah, we've never observed events to reverse and just start going backwards. Which,
have a damn shape.
It doesn't have to go back
Time
in
doesn't have a
time.
shape. It's just
That's
a
what you
it's
just
just a
said.
sequence.
You just said it. Everything we see things in nature go back in time. You just said that.
No, everything has cycles. It moves in certain cycles, and that has to do with numbers.
Okay.
It is
Well, if you
all
want to
Repeating
connected with
retract
types
what
of
you
numbers.
events doesn't
said,
mean time is a circle.
you can retract what you said, but you said back in time, and
I'm like a rhomboid.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, dude. This is what I'm saying. This is so annoying. What's with this new thing in Discord? People say something, know it's recorded, but then just say they didn't say it.
Yeah, but
Every
we have
time you do
cycles in our
DMT or
world
psychedelics,
that is circular.
It's not
That
a measurement,
returns
bro.
every time back in time. It is circular motion in cycles we have in our world. So why shouldn't time be circular?
Is a circle.
You can retract what you said, but you said back in time, and
time's like a rhomboid.
No, I didn't say that.
In my
Okay,
head,
dude. This is why. This is what I'm saying. This is so annoying. What's with this new thing in Discord? People say something, know it's recorded, but then just say they didn't say it.
in my head, I
You
feel
I
like
said time is a cycle, a circle that is going in a direction. That doesn't
Did you
mean
say
it's
it goes
going
backwards? Did you say the word backwards though?
She said back in
No,
time.
I didn't say backwards.
Or back?
No,
Sorry,
I didn't say back in time.
You
It
did.
sounds like it's something that would be behind you is always in front of you. Maybe that's what she's getting at.
Exactly, because the circle
Well, that's
is the
why.
right time beginning.
Yeah, we
Nailed it.
understand. I just still man the position. We it's not a lack of understanding what a circle is. It's pointing out the absolute absurdity of claiming time is a shape.
If you have a motion over a world that is
So time is
that
moving.
means you have a circular. That means you have a circular motion.
So time is stationary, and it is a circle, and
Is
you
time an
move around
object?
it.
Hold on.
Time's
It
a
has
sexy little bitch.
if how can it have a shape if it's not an object? Shape is something about material, or it's a descriptor of things that have material properties. Like, is time a material?
The shape is a direction, and the direction is a loop. So you could say that a loop is a shape, but really, if you're talking about a loop that's going back on itself, I mean, it could be in any shape you want it to be, but it's a loop that goes back to the beginning.
Exactly.
How, dude? Saying it's a loop, you're just affirming the consequent. You're asserting the thing you're trying to prove as evidence of how it works.
It sounds like you're applying cope to your what do you call that, incredulity or your inability to comprehend the proposal at hand?
Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said there's this like negativity when you come in these rooms. This type of behavior right here. Like when
Yeah, I
faced
kind of agree
with
with. I agree with Piezo. You know, trying to describe time as a shape is, I just can't picture it in my head right now. So
It's ridiculous. But hey, yo, everybody, just a second. I'm gonna play it because
It's a motion.
All right, cool. You said I was gaslighting like 12 times. We're just gonna play this.
DMT or psychedelics.
That is circular.
It's not a measurement,
Returns every time back in time. It is circular motion.
So you literally did say it. So please.
Yeah, try replaying it without clipping things out of it. Witsit.
Okay,
But
you claimed you didn't say back in time, and you literally did say it.
I said back and front in time. That's what I said. Because it
You
is a
play it again.
circular motion, so it has no
Oh, I'll play it. I'll play it
and the
again.
back.
I'll play it again. It's all good. I'll
Play
play it
the
again.
unedited version though, the one where you didn't clip out the middle part.
It doesn't matter if he clipped it out or not, bro. She said she didn't say the thing.
Dude, yeah, I'm just gonna play it. I won't even stop it.
But you
I won't
need
even
the
stop
whole context.
Okay, the context doesn't change the fact that you said back in time and then told me you didn't say it 5 times.
No, I didn't say back in time.
Okay, cool. We're gonna play it. We're just gonna play it. We're just gonna play it.
Psychedelics.
That is circular.
It's not a measurement.
Returns every time back in time. It is circular motion in cycles we have in our world. So why shouldn't time be?
No, she said to play the one where you didn't clip out the part where she, the middle word. Come on, Witsit.
What are you talking about? I'm just
Back in
pressing play on the stream.
Yeah, be honest. You're so dishonest.
I'm just pressing play on the stream.
He's
and
already admitted he's editing it and clipping it. Come on, man.
He's trolling you, and you're literally acting like he's supporting you.
Right. After he played it,
No,
you said
I
I didn't
agree
say
with
that.
her
I said
argument about the
and
back
time.
and about the
Demonstryde,
circular
please
motion
stop. Please,
of the time.
why would you add fire to it?
Well, because she clarified that it didn't mean back in time. It didn't mean it's going back in time. She meant it's circular.
Right, so when I said no big deal if you misspoke, and then she called me a liar and said I was gaslighting people and that she didn't say it.
You made it that was going back in time.
Okay, I'll just play it again.
They change reality here.
That's circular. It's not a measure. Turns every time back in time. It is circular motion. Turns every time back in time. It is.
He's getting the clip even more dialed in now. Every time he edits it, it gets even more ridiculous.
Okay, so we can just move on. It's just like, I'm like, bro, this happened to me like
You're just showing your dishonesty, witness.
Yeah, cool story, man. And this was happening yesterday too, where it's like someone would say something, but then it ended up like the argument got refuted or whatever, and then they would just say, I didn't say that. So then that's the reason I started doing this. Like, okay, cool, you want to bet $1,000 because I know that they know they're lying, and that's why they won't take the $1,000. But we can move on, whatever. I'm just like, talk about gaslighting. Like,
sure, okay. Let's keep on betting.
Okay, great point. Time isn't physical, it isn't an object, it isn't a shape. Okay, this is even Hawking, when he proposed the idea, pointed out that it was absurd. Like, he's like, this is basically all I can come up with. And I understand that it's just like a conceptual idea of a shape, and we have to use imaginary units. But like technically we can conceive of something in our reality that is finite. But if you were to step on top of that circle, there is no beginning or end. He didn't say, and that of course matches the evidence of what time is. Here's a coherent idea of how time operates that way, while we're simultaneously claiming that it's stretching out and slowing down and it's part of the curvature of space-time. Right?
Yeah, so something that doesn't begin or end would also be conclusive to a loop or circular, right?
We all understand that a circle doesn't begin or end. The point is, it's ridiculous to claim that time is a shape. That doesn't even make sense.
Well, if you were to view it from an outside dimension that the time is existing in, you might be able to say like it's looping back on itself and be able to apply a shape to it from maybe a fifth or sixth dimension viewpoint of the thing you're in.
It's like saying time is banana flavored, bro. It's just as valid as saying that. It doesn't make sense.
I love not making sense.
You making time a shape, a circle. I never said it was a shape. I said it was a circular motion.
Yeah,
a circular motion of what? A circular motion of what?
Circle's a 2D shape. It's not a 2D shape. It's not a circular motion.
It's a movement through the system.
You could even have the Pac-Man Earth or whatever, where it goes from left side of the map onto the right side and comes back on the left side. Even though that motion is linear, you could still say it's circular because it keeps repeating where it started and ending in a continuous motion or a continuous loop.
Dude, why do
people
keep just reasserting it as though we don't understand the concept, right? So if this person is talking about that there's a motion that nature has a motion, and say it's a cycle and it just keeps looping back and forth. Okay, guess what? That is happening in time. So we got 1 loop, 2 loops, 3 loops, 4 loops. We actually call these days. This is actually what happens in the sky. It does a circle over and over. Yeah. And time continues to progress as it does that.
Yeah, the things in the sky move in circles, and time is a straight line.
Right. All right. So if you imagine 2 ping pong players caught in an infinite loop where they're hitting the ping pong ball back and forth, at no point is there a circle or a shape there, though you could say they're in a circular pattern or in a loop or a continuous pattern. You could call it a loop and you could call it circular. And at no time are you representing a circle, right?
So
first of all, we were talking about Stephen Hawking, who literally presented geometry to represent time. We were talking about Tony, who came in here and tried to propose that argument half-heartedly because he couldn't even say that he thought it was possible or thought it was true, just that it was possible. Okay, and how that's just
Mhm.
asinine. And Hawking, and what happens is people come in here, they do the same thing with Einstein in his theory, the same thing with Hawking. They say it as if Hawking was he made the discovery and proposed it as a model, as if it's true. But when you actually read it, he's like, "Bro, uh, I can't come up with anything to avoid the inevitability the universe had a beginning. And the only thing that I could even think of that we can conceive of that basically is finite but has no beginning or end would be a circle." That's what
Sure.
actually
And
happened.
so trying to describe to simple people a very complex idea, you might go to a shape to say how it's circular. But like in my definition, in my example, I proposed to you something that is not a circle, but it is a loop and it is continuous. And you could say they're going in circles, even though there is no circle at hand. And if it's infinite and continuous, you would say it's a
Dude,
loop or
do you
circular.
not see why people would get annoyed where it's like you're completely unfamiliar with the cosmological model that Stephen
No, don't you
Hawking
don't get
wrote?
to you don't get to say that. That's bullshit. Don't do
Okay, so
that.
you've read it? You've read it?
Uh, d- what I don't like is when you start to propose that I don't know a thing,
No,
and
I
then
know for
you're
a fact that you don't know about this theory, or you wouldn't have said what you just said, which is when things are kind of complicated, you might just propose something simple because that's not what happened. He
where
literally
was the media?
proposed
Where was this thing presented? Was it on a TV screen or was it in a paper?
a paper.
Okay,
It's
and you were
literally a
reading it
proposed
verbatim. He said,
cosmological
"Hey,
model,
bro." Did
bro.
he use the word "bro" at all in that paper
See,
in the way
so
you
now you're
presented it?
just evolving.
No, you're trying to present something as if it came across this way, but it sounded to me like it was something like presented to a bunch of like imbeciles because you used bro a lot and then said it like it's basically a
Dude, so
circle.
you have
It
no
doesn't sound like a.
humility, man.
All right,
You have
I'll
no
go on mute
humility,
while
man.
you interrupt
Good
me.
idea. Yeah, you have no humility. So you clearly were just wrong about something. You thought that it was like an interview with Hawking and he was just
No,
trying
I
to
asked you a
communicate.
question and you fucking continue to
Just
answer
go
in
on
an.
mute, bro. Just be better.
Dude, like,
Thank
bro,
you,
show some
thank you.
humility, man. Like, it's okay if you don't know about it, but I'm telling you about it. The beginning of time. It's pretty famous. It's an actual proposal from Hawking, and it uses imaginary numbers
Well, as
to
a glober,
represent.
don't I suck his dick?
Okay.
And shouldn't I already like? Shouldn't this be the basis of why I'm a glober? Like you
Well,
propose that we all suck the
no.
dick of every scientist out there that makes the
Hey,
proposition, which is
yo,
why I hold.
Demonstryde, stick to
Hold
the
on,
topic.
don't interrupt me, Jesus Christ. Which is why I must hold the position
This is
I'm a
the
glober. So
asinine
then you.
drivel that scientists
All right,
produce.
yeah, all right. You guys don't like opposition. You're too weak. You guys
What?
gotta
No,
hear.
dude,
I'm here
No, no,
getting
dude,
yeah.
my
Well,
sucking
don't
your
worry
dick,
about
your
it. Don't
you're
fall
dumbass
for you.
just
dumbass
person. What are
bullshit.
you
Shut the
talking?
fuck up.
You're just trying to talk trash. But what's funny, bro, is yeah, and you actually proved that by not even being familiar with it, but immediately going into defense mode of it, and then trying to defend it as if though you did know it, and
You
saying,
wouldn't know if I'm familiar with it because that's all. That's the way you started to claim it. All right.
I
So fuck you, I guess, at that
I
point.
know you're not familiar with it because what you said is, well, yeah, when ideas are complex, you may present something simple that everyone understands, like a circle.
But why do people keep arguing from like a theoretical position? Like, yeah, but what if I did know it? It's like, okay, but do you know it? Well, why do you keep saying I don't? Well, do you? They just won't answer the question. It's like, bro, why does it matter about this like theoretical what if? Like, do you or not? He's arguing from the actual. You're trying to get a gotcha on a theoretical and say he's being mean. Like, you don't know it, right? Can you admit?
Was that a
Did
proper
you read
steel
it?
man
Yes
of
or
my
no?
was that a
Did you
proper
read it? Yes or no?
was yes or no? Was that a proper steel man of my
Did
position?
you read the thing from Stephen
Was that
Hawking?
a
Yes or no?
proper steel man of my position?
So
Yes
you
or no?
won't answer it because I'm right.
I'm not going to
If
answer
I'm
your
wrong,
dumb
you can answer the question. Yep, see, you
Why
won't
are you
do
being
the fault.
so bad faith, bro? Like, have you ever
Yeah,
read it or
bro,
no?
you're just wrong and you got exposed and you can't acknowledge it. You don't have humility in this generation.
No,
You use emotions beyond the ability to do it. My fault.
here's the problem. I wasn't talking to you, by the way. I was talking to Witsit. But the reason okay, the problem I had with the way it was proposed, Witsit, is because you said you started with like, I know you don't know, and here's why. Well, I guess fuck you. Who wants to talk to that?
Okay, I just explained why I said that because I didn't start that. That was after 5 or 6 comments that you made about it. But I know that you weren't familiar with it because you then said, "Well, yeah, when you're trying to explain complex concepts to someone, you just use something simple that everyone understands." But that isn't what we're talking about. That isn't what he
Okay,
was
so what
doing.
is the
That
theory
isn't
of the beginning of time that I don't understand or am incapable of comprehending?
the
If you
fundamental.
rewind time, and I've been wanting to say this, if you rewind time and you contract space, Stephen Hawking says that you can't have time without space. So you're putting like
because
the dawn
the
of
equation
time.
creates a singularity.
Yeah, you're putting the
because
dawn of
the
time
math
on the
doesn't.
timeline. So then,
I understand that.
what's
Like,
wrong with the idea that there's eternity? That's what I would say.
no. So science also backs that up that it might be literally an infinite loop, going back to a thing you call a circle, where it's very possible that the creation was the end in the first place. That
Okay,
that
let me
fits
help
the
you out here,
equation
man.
equally.
Yeah, and that's
Oh my
what
God.
Hawking was talking about, and that was
Oh, have you read it?
Tony was trying to talk about.
Have you read it?
No, I haven't read it because I asked PhD Tony for that paper because you don't ever provide anything.
So you haven't read it, but you're telling us what he was talking about?
I don't know. Did I nail it or not?
I listened to the conversation and I have comprehension of what he is saying.
How could you know what he's talking about if all you have is Witsit's words? Like, here's what happened. Witsit explained what the guy meant. And then someone said, no, that's not what he meant. He meant this other thing. And he said, well, how are you going to tell me what he meant if you haven't read it? You're literally arguing from a made-up idea in your head because literally you didn't read it. How could you be interpreting a thing you didn't read?
I was in the chat while the conversation was going on.
My argument's not about it. So I don't need
So
to
you're
read it
just a
because I'm not even arguing
cheerleader right
about
now.
it.
So you're just cheerleading for Witsit?
No.
That's fucking cool.
Were you
Dude,
listening in on the
read it
conversation of
because I didn't
PhD
claim.
Tony? No. I listened into that whole conversation, so I know what was.
Yeah, okay. What was said was that they came up with an idea of imaginary time. So since you understand it so much, please tell me, what is that? What's imaginary time?
Can you describe it in the context it was relayed in the paper, since I don't have it, memorized or haven't read it or I don't comprehend it or any of that? Maybe you can tell everyone here what they mean by imaginary time. No,
we're gonna let Krissle do it because she just told us that she understood it by listening to PhD Tony, and he talked extensively about imaginary time. So, Krissle, what's imaginary time?
You're talking about imaginary time. He's talking about the background medium, the connection in between all and what it made to a whole with no end and no beginning.
So they're talking about the time of Planck times.
It wasn't talking about a background medium.
So it's essentially talking about before time was set in physics within our reality, where we have the Planck times of the expansion to the cooling to where we can actually read the data and actually gather the background radiation. That's maybe what they're talking about, imaginary time, because if it's a continuous loop, you can't have a point where there is no physics that creates time.
So you looked it up, and that's closer to what it is.
Holy shit, I didn't look anything up, dude. I'm fucking 40 ounces in a beer right now. Walking around with my phone in my hand.
Like, you complain about interruptions, but you do it more than anybody else.
I'm just telling you, I didn't look shit up, is what I'm saying. I got my phone in my hand and it's on speaker. It didn't happen.
Good, man. Just chill out, dude. So that's kind of closer to it, right? But you're not telling me what it is. Like, you're saying a time that's different than this time.
No, it's before physics had their time didn't really kind of exist, so they measure things in like Planck times, where like sets of physics were being put into place where they don't really explain it very well themselves, to be honest.
Okay, dude. So yeah, because it's ridiculous. So he proposed the idea of imaginary time, and it wasn't as if it was just a term. It was literally the variable in his equations. It used an imaginary unit. It literally changes time to an imaginary unit. Okay? It literally has no value even mathematically. Uses an imaginary unit, and then what it does is says that basically it rotates the time axis, okay? And then it says that the universe inside of imaginary time looks like a sphere. And then it literally basically reifies time as physical, like an object, and it's got a finite component, but it doesn't end, and uses the idea of the earth, the surface, a sphere, or a circle. Okay? It actually takes that, reifies it, puts it into the idea of like space geometry itself, right? Incoherently, and then represents it with imaginary units. And then he goes on to say, obviously, this is not particularly intelligible. It's basically just like here is something we can conceive of that's finite, but doesn't have a beginning and end. And so maybe there is some way that something's possible other than God. And that is not me strawmanning him. That is what he explains in the writing.
Right. And I think he's possibly trying to explain God in a mathematical sense, where if you were to have the thing, like, we can all see the universe and see it's greater than us. Like, I think there's just a more mathematical way to explain God, which is what literally science is attempting to do, because universe literally did pop out of seemingly, we can't say what, or if it even came from something or if it exists forever. But
We
to
can
then
say
just
that
say
it
that.
doesn't exist forever.
Well, I mean, you could claim that, but you don't know that,
Well,
right?
okay, now this is what started me and Tony's whole debate. So I pointed out that the second law of thermodynamics dictates entropy increases, the amount of usable energy decreases, and if the amount of usable energy is decreasing, then it has to have a starting point to decrease from. Of course, he acted like I was just so stupid and that was a ridiculous point. So then I pointed out, bro, like even Stephen Hawking pointed that inevitability out. So then he started backtracking and he tried to bring up this thing as if he's like, no, that's not what Stephen Hawking said. He never said that. Stephen Hawking never said that there must have been a beginning. Stephen Hawking never said that the evidence of the second law indicates there must be a beginning. And he kept on denying it. And I'm like, he literally did say that word for word. He kept on gaslighting me saying he didn't. So then I went and got the quote. I just pulled the quote up. It's right here. I can read it. And then once I read the quote, he just kept saying, no, you're misrepresenting it. That's not what it actually says. I cited it, read it multiple times, and then he just deflected to this other idea that Hawking had touched on that's like imaginary unit, which is basically like, I'm going to die before I could even come up with something. Here's a placeholder, and it symbolizes the pursuit of any explanation other than God. Okay, but he tried to propose it as though Hawking was claiming it to be true, and then
Right.
argued about it for three hours.
I think getting mad that science says it isn't God is kind of the ridiculous thing. Because I think if you can point with mathematics to say like, hey, the universe like is an infinite loop, I'd say there's your God right there. But
Nobody's mad about it, dude. Nobody's
You
mad about it. It's
can't
just the
do
fact.
that though.
all right, so go ahead. You wanted to talk. Nobody's mad about it. Go ahead and finish a full fleshed out like thought you had there.
Okay, I'm
They
gonna
were
read
just
the quote. I'm gonna read the quote. This argument about whether or not the universe had a beginning persisted into the 19th and 20th centuries. It was conducted mainly on the basis of theology and philosophy with little consideration of observational evidence. This may have been reasonable given the notoriously unreliable character of cosmological observations until fairly recently. The cosmologist Sir Arthur Eddington once said, don't worry if your theory doesn't agree with the observations because they're probably wrong. But if your theory disagrees with the second law of thermodynamics, it's in bad trouble. In fact, the theory that the universe has existed forever is in serious difficulty with the second law of thermodynamics. The second law states that disorder always increases with time. Like the argument about human progress, it indicates that there must have been a beginning.
Right. Yeah. I get, why do I care what this guy said?
Okay, so that's what Stephen Hawking said. It doesn't.
So I'm a
make it
bigot, so I'm just going to
true.
hand what Austin just said.
You said Sir Arthur Eddington. Why do I care what this guy said?
No. This is
So
Stephen Hawking.
you don't know your history?
Stephen
No, hold
Hawking
on, Gregory.
simply.
I'm not talking to you.
Hey, hold on. Yeah, he's quoting him,
Yeah,
right?
he doesn't know his history.
All right, this is Stephen Hawking.
Well, who is
I'm
the
gonna tell
Sir
you,
Arthur
man.
guy? Like, what
I'm
was
trying
his
to
quote
tell
again?
you, man. You just really gotta chill, man. This is a quote from Stephen Hawking. He's referencing another quote from Sir Arthur Eddington, who is the guy that did the Eddington experiments in 1919. The famous claim that supposedly verified relativity when they observed a star in an eclipse.
Okay, I just needed it layered on so
One
I
of the
can like
most
when I want
famous
to pull the
people in
band-aid
your
off, I know how big the scab is.
one of the most famous people in your paradigm. But this is the thing, right? It doesn't really matter what either one of them said. The argument is what matters. And the second law does in fact say entropy will increase, right? And he phrases it as disorder always increases with time. And then the amount of usable energy decreases. So if disorder always increases, then it has to increase from a beginning point. If the amount of usable energy always decreases, it has to decrease from a beginning point. Right?
So what's to
There
say that
is
the
no
expansion
escape.
goes out? What's to say the expansion expands to as far as it can, loses all of its entropy, and then collapses back in on itself and starts again? Because the
Because to
journey to
start
the collapse
again would
creates the
require an
beginning again.
external to start again would require an external introduction to energy, so it doesn't actually escape the problem, which is that you need something from outside the universe creating energy. And we know that the first law says that matter and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So we're going to have to violate natural law,
Well,
i.e.,
no.
supernatural.
Well, everything stays within this universe, but maybe there's a god playing hacky sack with it on the outside, and every time that he hits it, we get our expansion of our sack as it's kicked by his heel, and our sack expands as it's flying through the air, and then it starts to contract again. Then he comes back down and kicks us right in the sack again, and we go flying
every
back
time
into the
we-
air, expanding with energy.
Gotta listen to this
every
asinine drivel again.
well, ironically, you're acting like you're disputing the inevitability of God by invoking God, but even more so, you're just supporting my point,
No,
which is when he kicked it, he introduced energy to it.
I get that,
So the
yeah.
point,
And I'm saying that still works with our model, and we could still use science that points to all of those. And like I said earlier, my God is dark energy. Like God hides himself in dark energy. That's why we can't find him. But he's
Yeah, he's
no.
deflecting. Right?
secret
Don't let him
murder
deflect from the main point. Don't let him deflect from the main point.
Dark energy is a type of energy. First of all, it's not even defined, even known to exist, and it's just proposed that it's some type of energy.
just like God.
We're
Yeah, just
talking
like God.
about all we're talking about all matter and energy in existence in the universe.
All matter and energy within the universe is something that you can interact with, where dark energy, like God, is something that is mysterious and acts behind the scenes. And it
Stop
is
letting
the
him
force and
deflect.
the mover.
Stop
And
letting him
it is the
deflect. It's
force
a
and
bunch of
mover in the
dishonest
globe
drivel.
sphere,
Gregory,
in the globe
speaking.
model. In the globe model, dark energy is our secret mover of energies, just like your God is in whatever realm you want to pretend you're in.
Dishonest drivel.
Incorrect.
Ignoring
And
the main point, the awesome say.
it's claimed to be a type of physical energy within the physical universe that simply doesn't interact with the electromagnetic spectrum. It isn't claimed to be some mysterious force
Well,
outside of the
doesn't God
universe.
interact in your universe? Doesn't he have
Dude, you're
powers that you
interrupting
can't
the
detect?
conclusion every time so you can still pretend that you're not getting refuted. It's really annoying. So it's in your paradigm, the dark simply means it doesn't interact with the electromagnetic spectrum. It's still claimed to be a type of physical energy in the physical universe, not some mysterious force or energy from outside the universe. Okay, the deflection of does your God interact with the universe is totally irrelevant because the entire point is it requires some type of primary mover outside of it. So, very concisely, the second law says the amount of entropy increases or disorder increases, the amount of usable energy decreases, requires a beginning point. So when we go to the first law that says matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed, and we try to answer the question, how did all the matter and energy, i.e., the whole universe, get here? We can no longer say, well, it was always here because the second law doesn't allow that. So that means
Well,
we
we
have to
can.
say,
If you allow energy input from an outside source, you can always have a pile of material or energy, like a certain ball that requires stimulation. You can always stimulate it from the outside.
you're just okay. It's no
What bearing does that have on refuting what
stimulation.
Austin said?
The word stimulation's doing some heavy lifting there, my guy, because there is no stimulation. It requires creation of
Well,
energy.
I think we're just using the same word to explain the same thing. Like when I say dark energy and you say God, I'm like, it sounds like it's the exact same thing. Honestly, if you're to look at it,
Of course, you
like
conflate the two.
why is the universe expanding? There's no energy, like you can't measure the energy, but we
Dark
have an
energy is
explanation for it.
omniscient,
Wait,
omnipotent, omnipresent. Like,
wait,
dude,
no,
what?
no, wait,
Thanks,
chill, chill, chill,
Witsit.
chill, chill,
Don't
chill,
even
chill,
don't even
chill, chill,
dignify his
chill,
dumbass
chill,
reply with all
chill.
Thanks,
that.
Witsit.
Dude, okay, I just explained why it was different. You acted like I didn't say it and then just reasserted the point again. Like, no, you can't just say dark energy is the same as my God. My God is external to the universe, supernatural, not bound by any of the laws,
Yeah.
has immutable characteristics, is omnipotent, has intelligent agency, right? It is in no way dark energy, which is,
Well, does
again,
your God interact in this universe at all?
yes.
Okay, so like your God, my God exists outside of it, and he interacts in this universe through dark energy.
Okay, saying through dark energy is irrelevant because the point is it's not synonymous with dark energy because dark energy is claimed to be an actual physical type of energy that doesn't interact with the electromagnetic spectrum, meaning it falls into the category of matter and energy. Okay.
Within
Okay,
the
is
The
God
universe.
first law,
physical? Does God physically interact in your life?
It's not the harder question. Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna have to define physical, but yes, properly defined. But this is the thing. The first law says matter and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So if you say, how did all the matter and energy get here? Please don't interrupt the conclusion again. How did all the matter and energy get here? You could say, oh, well, it's just always been here, right? Because the alternative is that it hasn't always been here. So one is requires an absence, and then it was created and put here. The other one is, well, it was just always here. So, okay, we can avoid God and just say it was always here. But now we go to the second law. We know it can't have always been here, right? Because there had to be a beginning. So now we go back to that first question. We only have one option left, which is that it wasn't always here. It was created. If matter and energy were created, then that violates that first law, right? So therefore, by definition, you have to attribute it to a force not limited to the laws of nature, which is by definition supernatural. That's the etymology beyond nature. So you need an external supernatural. And then here's the big home run question, right? Because it's about energy being created. What is the antecedent to creation?
So my antecedent for my gods creating our reality is that the physical aspects of its existence, possibly along the elemental table, wanted to realign itself in a physical nature. So it created the universe, right? And then it stimulated it with energy from the outside. And that looks like dark energy on the inside, just like you would say God moves in mysterious ways. Well, so does my God.
What's the antecedent of creation?
The antecedent is that it needed to be created.
Okay.
And what creates creations?
Yeah, like what's the necessary requirement for a creation?
That it wants to be created.
No, what creates creations?
What?
The thing that creates creation is the wanting.
The created thing wants to be created.
Try again. Watch.
Yeah,
Give it some
like
time.
a loop when you're stuck in a loop.
What creates creatures?
Well, right. So what came first, the chicken or the egg?
What creates creatures?
Bro,
another creature, obviously.
No.
The creation, dude. He asked you a question. You kind of sidestepped it. So like just like a quick succinct answer would be nice. What is the antecedent to creation?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't.
You only need to say one word.
Well, I'd actually like to answer the other one. You said which.
Oh, of course, you got to evade.
Creatures. Hold on.
The audience moans and groans.
No, but Witsit question was first. So
Answer the question,
going to the
Dodger.
person that interrupted. Yeah.
Yeah. So
answer the question, Dodger.
Okay, so what creates creatures? I'd say other creatures. Is that not correct?
Okay, man. Okay, what's the antecedent to creation?
The antecedent to creation is the need to be created. That's the only thing that lays that's the only thing that lays in front of it.
The necessary requirement to creation is that it needs to be created. You could create something that didn't need to be created. Like I see people that suck at art make paintings all the time. What's the necessary antecedent to creation? How about I ask this? What's the antecedent to a painting?
That it wants to be painted. So the fact that people
paint wants to be painted.
Hold on, let me get a full thought out. Let me get a full
The painting wants to be painted.
Let me get a. All right. Well, I guess I'll go on mute since I'm being asked questions.
Yeah, this is good. See, this is the problem. You're going to give
him.
him an out. If everyone interrupts him, he wants an out, right? So he can just say, "Well, I'm being censored, so I'm just going to fall back." So you guys are actually giving him an out.
No, not me. I'm asking about
I would say if something is shown to be circular and it's need to become circular is circular. Like I don't know, it wanted to be created. That's why it became created. That's why God did the thing. Because God was
the painting wanted to be created,
right? Like, come on, bro.
Here's the thing: you guys are acting like I'm sounding crazy.
You know the answer.
Like, hold on a second.
The painting wanted to be created. Yes,
yeah, the painting wanted to be created. That's why it fucking came into existence.
Paintings are sentient. They're inanimate objects, dude.
All right, fuck me,
dude. You're giving inanimate objects sentience.
And just because you're in
the
bad
painting wanted to be created. You heard it here first, folks.
Okay, bro. Okay, look. Okay, I'll answer it then. Okay, I'll ask Piezo. Piezo, what's the antecedent to a painting?
It seems to me the only obvious possible answer at all is a painter.
Okay, and what's the antecedent to creation?
A creator.
There you go. Okay, so normally when you talk to an atheist and you say, "What's the antecedent to creation?" Like, you're back in the question. You're back in the question, because everyone knows the answer. Now, I certainly didn't beg any questions, right? I just showed that
Well,
even within a naturalism framework, proper application of the first and second law of thermodynamics dictates an external supernatural creator. There is no avoiding it.
well, I'd say, all right. So if you're like a painting that's created isn't just a painter doesn't just make a painting; they become the painting. It wanted to be created, which is why it is the thing. I don't make something.
What are you talking about?
I don't. Hold on. I don't create something just to create something. I create something because I was either bored, my hands wanted something to do, or I had a reason to do it.
Categorically different subject. You're talking about teleology.
Let me finish my sentence.
No, stop deflecting. It's a
Okay,
different subject.
no,
Teleology.
No. Time out. Yeah. We can't. We gotta still let him say it. I don't even know why. Why do people not want to hear him say it? In my opinion, stuff like this is hilarious.
Yeah, it makes his position way worse when he lays out something so ridiculous. Let him lay out the ridiculous claim.
Let him say it.
Okay, I would say everything I've created, every artwork, or everything I've created, whether how dumb anybody else thinks about it, I still put a piece of myself into it, and I feel like I imbue it with a certain form of life maybe nobody else may comprehend or give a fucking shit about, but it still exists to me, and maybe that's God to us, like maybe that's what we are to God. Like, but to say that like if you create something like it didn't want to be created, like I don't know what world you're fucking living in.
Okay, so, hey, Witsit.
Irrelevant conjecture. That's on a categorically different issue.
What's up, Piezo?
So I was just going to ask you, Witsit. So if the antecedent to the painting is not the painter, but it's the painting's desire to be created, then can we have a painting without a painter? Then isn't that what that would mean?
That is what that would mean. Yeah.
So how could we have a painting without a painter? Where does if we don't have the painter, if the painting that Demonstryde painted, if Demonstryde didn't exist, how would the painting get there?
Yeah,
so if the painting wanted to be existed, it would allow me to exist. Maybe the painting is actually more relevant than my existence at all, and I was brought into existence to fulfill the canvas.
So you're saying the painting created the painter so it could paint it.
But you guys are comparing created, things that are created versus.
Jack. Hold on.
Can I please speak?
No, hold on. I'm asking. Is that what you're saying, Demonstryde? The painting created the painter.
Yeah, that is what he said. Yeah, he said that.
Yeah. The fact that
what was Jake saying?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, real quick, it doesn't really require a whole bunch of people to like point out how absurd. It's obvious how absurd it is, right? Like he's saying a thing that doesn't exist created another thing that doesn't exist. So the thing that doesn't exist that it made to exist could create it so it would exist. It's
I know. I'll never get
absurd.
clips. I'll never get clips in this room because no one can sit back and let the amazing clip happen. Like no matter how
it would have
well
been
I
good,
said,
but like
I just want him to reaffirm it. I know he.
But did you hear what I said though?
ultimately, hey, who created God?
But time.
Who
I
cut
just want
off
to make
Jake
this point.
before? I wanted to hear Jake's
Like
opinion.
real fast. So like part of the reason I invest so much time in here is my idea was I was going to be able to break bread with different people to make some clips so we could get some of these ideas out to people. And every time I think there's going to be like a golden clip, people don't allow the person to say the part of the clip that would actually make it golden or actually make it go viral. It gets stomped all over and interrupted. People are so impatient they can't let it out. So it's kind of frustrating. Also, it's kind of like a rule that we don't do that anyway. It's just kind of a rule that we don't interrupt anyway, right? No, we don't want to go back to it because it's not organic, bro. It's all good.
Well, the reason I brought that up
on this issue, let me show you this quote from Dr. Lemater himself, right? Because this is also very relevant to what
I was pointing to something that was circular and infinite, like your God.
About earlier.
Where when you want to claim your God is
from Sir Eddington, right? Just somebody in some room for a moment.
Witsit wants you to shut up, so Demonstryde can talk to him.
So this quote concerning what Austin was talking about earlier. This is from Dr. Lemater himself, one of the great sages of scientism. The very first sentence of the very first publication of his rendition of the primeval atom doctrine. The very first sentence is this, quoting Sir Eddington, which is one of the primary sages that promulgated the TGR. All right. So Eddington states that philosophy years before him, or actually contemporary with him, about the repugnance he has against the notion that the world began.
So Demonstryde, you remember whenever I was telling you that the main fatherheads of a lot of these doctrines were motivated by a like sheer hatred of the idea of creation? You're like, well, I don't know. I don't think that's a real thing. I've never met anyone like that. I don't think that's why they did it. And I said, you may be surprised. He left.
Yeah, they don't even hide their. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was saying it's funny. We were talking about that recently, like yesterday, I guess, or like earlier today. And he was like, "Nah, there's no way that's true." You know, because it sounds absurd when you tell them that, like, the quote unquote scientists that built all this, they did it because even though the evidence said there was a God, they just hated the idea there might be a God.
Yeah, I mean, they don't actually hide these facts about themselves, though. Like they were pretty proud to like proclaim and publish these ideas of theirs. You know, you can go read. That's why we can go read it still in their publications. You know, I mean, a lot of your old school like Schooling Globers presentations would pull quotes into a bunch of slides from all these people, and it's just like slides and slides of slides purely of their quotes, and their quotes are just like crazy. You know, peering into the mind of what it actually motivates them to do and say what they did and said. You know, and most of it is philosophically, you know, repugnant to them that we would allow there to be a God or allow Earth to be special or unique. That's it.
Because they knew that they would be not only openly accepted, but celebrated if they were able to come up with any idea that would help in that pursuit. That's why they're so bold about it, because it's not like there's anything to be timid about. They're going to be like celebrated for it.
And see, the earth wanted to be created, so it created a creator to create itself.
Yeah.
And then again, to highlight this, you look at the content that they produce in the text chat, for instance. And again, I will highlight their non-arguments. It's a bunch of mockery and drivel. That's what they have to produce as replies to the arguments and or the evidence. Until they actually reply with arguments, I'm going to keep chastising them for that. Because all this time, we've been given generation after generation after generation has been indoctrinated and beaten down with this notion that they're the intellectually rigorous, tough-minded people of the world. And then when they're met with articulate people who stand all 10 toes and show them the evidence and the arguments that refute their notions, this is what they produce in reply. It's reprehensible.
Yeah, and I would ask the same question again to anybody that's trying to like say this isn't like the reasonable conclusion of it. What is wrong with there being something eternal? Like, why is that completely out of the question?
He laid it out like 6 times. The second law of thermodynamics necessitates there to be a beginning, because otherwise, if you go back in time infinitely, you'd have infinite energy.
Well, just to clarify, are you asking like to the people that fight the like inevitability of there being something eternal outside the universe, or the universe being eternal?
I don't know. Piezo responded as if I was disagreeing with him.
No, I know. That's what I was clarifying. I think he misunderstood you. Like, I think he was saying, he was asking, like, why are people so opposed, like, to the idea of there being something eternal? Like, what's wrong with that?
Oh,
yeah, like, okay, yeah, no, like I would say the same thing I asked Demonstryde again. You know, you rewind space. You know, space-time is expanding from some singularity. That's the Big Bang. You know, what is it expanding into? And that would mean that time had a point where it started, and that doesn't make sense. I like the idea of a. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do something else at the same time. You know what I mean?
No worries.
Yeah, something's gonna have to exist outside of all of the limitations. Put very simply, right? And what happens is people characterize that as some like intellectually lazy, religiously driven, like anti-scientific, just like baseless claim. But in reality, it is objectively the only possible option. Like, it is the only logically viable answer, and it is entirely inescapable, even within the quote unquote philosophy of naturalism or materialism, right? That's why I use this argument first, because it's like, bro, let's just be real here. Like, we're all adults, man. Like, we have brains, we have minds, we're intelligent enough to look at the world around us, to take the evidence, to discuss it, to apply logic and reason. And if we do that without any Bible, any book, any religion, any belief, you cannot deny there has to be a creator. You can literally figure it out with basic logic. It's not something that we can't know. It's something that we absolutely can know for a 100% fact, you know. And this argument just shows that something needs to be external, eternal, supernatural creator. It doesn't require. Now, I would say actually, you would have to extrapolate the argument out, or like continue it forward to get to the intelligent agency, right? The intelligent agency. And then, of course, it just paves the avenue towards a transcendental argument to really like drop the cherry on top, right? And just to explain all the immutable characteristics that are required for that creator. But everyone has their own approach, you know, just mine.
How is the two laws verified? Is it just like appealing to their consensus, kind of like going within and working with them? Like saying, like, we could realize these first two laws for sure. That's the only thing I'm not sure about on that argument.
Well, it's just based on all evidence ever. Right? It's based on all empirical evidence ever. So, like, if you're gonna, it's going within their framework because that's what they hold as like the determining factor within their worldview, right? Empiricism, naturalism.
Yeah.
Like, everything can be determined through empirical means, through scientific means. So it's like, okay, well, here's what, if we actually only examine things that are acquired through that process, it still requires a creator, right? Like, it helps wake them from their slumber, basically.
Yeah, but I wouldn't run into the transcendental after that, because I'm not discounting the empirical method, but the transcendental argument shows the flaw in the empiricist worldview. So that's why I'm like, oh, that would be a tough sell. But yeah, the empiricist, you're saying as long as we've been empiricist, it's shown to be this way. There's no empirical evidence for entropy, say 5,000 years ago, right?
Wait, no, but I disagree. I think it's a very easy, simple way to transition into it, right? Which is like, okay, we found out that with simply applying empirical means, natural law, etc., that we know that there has to be an external supernatural creator. So now let's examine what was the primary motivation, right, that motivated you to even adopt that worldview. What made you like? It was the rejection of something outside of the material world, right? Well, we now know.
Yeah, word. Okay, I see.
Yeah, we've now established that's just objectively a fact.
Yeah, beautiful. No, I hear you. That is the whole idea, that there is a natural revelation. There's something that's revealing all of this reality to you in such a way that it is true. What is that thing? Yeah.
God will fuck your ass, okay? God will fuck your ass.
Stop speaking. But yeah, the argument that we've discussed again it's at least two of them. It's the contingency argument or the ontological argument, the two names for the same type of argument, and the cosmological argument. So yes.
When you do the causation argument, is it fallacious in the sense that no one has ever witnessed every cause, so therefore how could anyone make a claim that every effect requires a cause?
Well, actually, the issue with the problem of induction That's the problem. And then the argument, which is the causal argument, or again, the contingency argument, is that with the empiricist, you cannot empirically verify the reality of causation itself, because causation itself is not a material thing that can be sensed by the empirical senses. It's not that type of entity. What you can empirically sense are the material particulars, right? But not causation itself. So if you lock yourself in empiricism, then you can't verify it. You can't know it. You can't know empiricism itself. It's a self-feeding proposition on itself. If you go with the rationalist view, in the most basic sense of the word, irrationalism, you're just appealing to what makes sense to you, which is of course not an argument. And if you try to make an argument from that worldview, that epistemic perspective, then you're just being arbitrary, right? It's just an empty Dixon or a appeal to assertion fallacy or begging the question, right? So
yeah, there's no reason to believe that person's reasoning is reasonable. Yeah,
exactly. Especially when obviously by that same epistemic standard to produce a vast variegation of contradictory answers.
Yeah, I was talking about that the other day. Like, if the scientific method relies on, it seems the laws of logic and uniformity of nature, and the scientific method deals in causes, right, cause and effect relationships, then what is the cause to those two effects that it relies on in the first place? If the method doesn't have a way to test that, that's a big problem.
Right. In scientism, they do not have. Well, they tried actually. They don't even. It's two things. From their perspective, they don't really even consciously say this in so many terms. When you do an external analysis, having more discernment than them, their mechanism that's supposed to substitute the Lord is gravity, whether it be MAM or TGR, because gravity does what? It holds everything together. It doesn't just pull things; it holds everything together, so that everything doesn't disintegrate down to the most fundamental particles. So rather than God initiating and sustaining the regularity of the function of everything, the functions of everything, the uniformity of nature, they pluck him out and substitute gravity in there. And then given their own lore that they contrive willy-nilly, whimsically, they then run into all sorts of problems that render it moot and false.
But all four arguments are false. That being those mentioned now, the transcendental, cosmological contingency, and ontological argument. In their current formalization, they're flawed. They're false. The transcendental argument rests on that logic and morality presuppose God. The cosmological argument, well, a classical premise for them. The cosmological one is everything must have a cause. And contingency argument is that contingent beings requires a necessary being. And the ontological argument is that concept of perfect being entails existence. So all these four arguments are actually presuppositional.
So do you finally have an internal criticism, or are you just going to continue repeating the same external criticism that is moot?
Yeah, you have to go inside the argument. You would have to at this point debunk them.
So debunking for the transcendental is really that logic arises within being, not before it. Cosmological argument is debunked by
how do you know
causation.
that? Hold on. We'll go one at a time, dude.
Back up.
We can
say
go
your
through
internal
all four.
criticism.
We can go into depth. I kind of just wanted to address all four immediately, and then you can choose which one you want to go into.
You did already. You did. You addressed all four, then you tried to repeat yourself, so just go with the first one. You said the transcendental argument presupposes logic, but logic doesn't come about until being comes about. So how do you know that?
That's false. I presented their classical premise, and I have not presented my counter premise.
Wait, what is your internal criticism? Do you even understand what internal criticism is?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Well, do you not understand that a system that cannot understand its own logic beyond its, let's say, house of cards?
Okay, he's evading the question.
You cannot. No,
you
cannot
need an
just
internal critique. If you don't know what internal criticism is, And of course, you couldn't possibly have one to refute our position. What is internal criticism?
No, you do not only need an internal criticism.
Dude, if you're contradicting my epistemic authority, there's nothing that obliges me to take your contradictory epistemic authority for granted. Nothing.
Well, I don't have epistemic authority, although I do. I have ontological authority.
You said you don't have an epistemic authority?
I can provide that. I did that with Witsit a few days ago, if you were
So
present
you
for it.
do have one, yes?
This is not the. This is besides the point. We can easily just
See, this is why we can't make
pick them
progress. You
apart.
just evaded another question of mine that is the obvious and natural progression of the dialogue. He needs an internal critique. He refused to prove that he even knows what internal criticism is.
Oh. Bro,
what's this even about right now?
You should have been
Because
here
again, he's
for
yapping his external criticism, taking his worldview for granted,
Man,
as
Gregory, when you
though
hear someone
everyone
talking,
should
you
take it
can
for
kind of cut
granted.
him off every time. Like, dude, every
The
time
hell?
Zynak goes
If
to
you
speak,
ask
you
the
cut him off.
question,
The hell? You didn't specify anyone. You just asked the question to the room.
I just want to hear the end of Zynak's sentence at least once today.
Well, first and
Dude,
foremost,
you just said, what is the thing about? And then I answered you, and then you whined.
Him saying that I need an internal critique is a
God damn.
classical presuppositional trap.